Today, did you watch the Video Game Awards? No, neither did I. This is ChillPoint. Yep.
Hi.
Got all my Video Game Awards news off of YouTube's when the trailers went up.
I watched them and live blogged in my own Discord and made other people put up
All right.
with me. And then I gave up partway through because I got bored.
I got my video game news, Video Game Award news about 10 minutes before we went live by asking Heather what happened.
It's good.
I like it when people are informed. I like helping.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to ChillPoint for December 11th. December double lines.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's actually appropriate. There's the Video Game Awards was yesterday, and I was thinking that for whatever reason, this episode of CheckPoint was like almost entirely like meta news. Like it wasn't about a particular video game. It was about like either video games in general or the production of video game content.
Yeah.
As opposed to the video games themselves.
The closest we got was really talking about cyberpunk, but yeah, for the most part, this was the things that surround video games because it's the end of the year and there doesn't seem to be a lot of news about.
Well,
here's a goofy ass
so
thing.
December
Yeah.
is when like you pretty much don't want to be like announcing your new video games or like new hardware or anything too much in December. Like it's Christmas.
Like we're past the like Christmas threshold now in terms of like announce a thing to make it available for Christmas.
What's up? You having a problem? You just know it's my new book?
I saw somebody say something in the chat, and I was like, "What the hell are they talking about?"
The book that's on the center shelf by Decalink.
Yeah, I see it now.
I just got that. That was what was in the package.
I figured that's what was in the package. Sorry, Paul. Chat's distracting me.
I
dirty
backed
chat.
that thing like 2 years ago, I think.
Hi.
Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, I should say before we get going that, of course, this is ChillPoint, the auxiliary show to CheckPoint, I guess. The after show, what used to be the after show.
After dark.
Yeah.
What used to be the after show.
If you haven't actually watched CheckPoint yet, you might want to do that or have done that before we went live.
If you managed to watch the first one, like within the hour span that it was up,
you'll be pleased to know that all your comments are gone, so go fuck yourself.
There's
watch
a story you missed and you might want to watch it again.
Yeah. Yeah. It
was so embarrassing.
But I mean, the stories all kind of blend together after a while. And you're like, did they do this one already? Or also because there'll be like multiple takes of a story, and so it's like, is this a different story or just a different take on the same story?
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it funny that video got checked like 2 or 3 times by 2 different people, and we still let it go up without realizing that we were missing a thing. And one of those people was there for a recording, so he definitely should have known.
If it wasn't for the fact that we had that there was a mention made of a Twitch story that we probably wouldn't have noticed it. I mean, I would have noticed because I always end up watching CheckPoints. I'd have been like, that was weird. Hey, hon.
So there's for if you are curious and don't know whether you saw the one, the final story that was about Twitch's new conduct and harassment guidelines was originally not in it. It was only, I think that version was only up for like 45 minutes or an hour or something.
Yeah, it got caught because somebody mentioned being confused about it, which is why I keep up with the Discord. Hey, Discord.
We will talk about that story, I think, when we get to it in the
we should start from the beginning about going to jail.
All right. Well, this is CheckPoint. This is ChillPoint. This if you just watch CheckPoint on YouTube, then this is a little bit of extra. We get to talk about the stories that are on CheckPoint, give you a little more background info, and also talk about stories that we didn't talk about on the episode for a whole variety of reasons. So yeah, let's get into this. Starting with actually a story that requires an update, because the first story we did, which was about the
U.S. government funding omnibus bill.
Yeah, this North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis. Thom Tillis.
Jackass emeritus. Yeah.
It turns out that now, last night, the full text of the bill was released, as opposed to the sort of leaked stuff that was originally had. It turns out that it's a little bit different than it's still not great, but it's not the same kind of thing that was originally speculated upon. It seems to be more targeted towards organizations as opposed to individuals, and not some. Let me just double check the.
Yeah, I mean, we are an organization, so we'll be clear about that. But that's not really what they mean.
More about the like hosting companies as opposed to the people producing the.
Oh, okay,
content.
Okay, yeah.
This is kind of an erosion of the safe harbor idea. I think was the idea that you if you're a content publisher and then something happens to end up if somebody who's using your platform puts up a song that is they haven't paid for, the publishing company, the like YouTube or Twitter would not have to pay for that in court. And I think this is meant to be an erosion of the safe harbor idea, because it's like that's something that I know that the White House has been pushing for very recently too, is to basically say that no, we want to be able to sue Twitter because we are mad that we are mad that you would dare to put a fact-checking notice on the president's tweets. So this might be an outgrowth of that.
It's also taking some of the stuff that because obviously there's one of the things that happens is that this DMCA stuff only gets really hit on Twitch VODs and YouTube and stuff, but not on live content. And so I think part of this is also to be basically, hopefully was trying to force people like Twitch to also be looking at live content.
Yeah, that's the worry with Twitch. Right now they're looking at all of the stuff that's VODs and clips and whatnot. But if you don't make your channel have those things, you should be safe. But there is always the possibility that they'll go after the content that's actually happening live.
And and as Sniper Pumpkin in the chat is saying, that apparently it's mostly oriented around people who are like not companies like Twitch, but more companies that are like or providers that are like actually just streaming illegal content.
Right, like those Cody boxes.
Well,
not to say Cody's a bad thing. I just want to be clear. Cody's a great project.
They've said like Rabbit, which is like a thing where somebody chooses to stream something to an audience.
Yeah.
Right. Which is kind of like stuff that happens in Discord now.
Yeah, that's public playback, which is the weird thing, right? Because it's like if you're publicly broadcasting something that you don't have the rights to publicly broadcast. That's why they used to put those things at the fronts of VHS tapes. Remember that, kids?
The
VHS tapes.
Warnings?
They would have all the warnings. It's like you can't publicly broadcast this movie.
They have those on DVDs too. It's cool.
Oh, those.
Yeah. I know you don't pay attention to that.
Probably Blu-rays as well.
I'm doing my best, Paul, not to think about DVDs and Blu-rays these days. I'm just doing my best.
Ironically, you may not have seen that because you're pirating all your content.
Yes.
But
do they put it on digital copies of things?
Usually.
It's been a while since I've bought a digital copy. I watch.
I mean, whenever we watch stuff on a streaming platform, we never see it. Like
yeah,
if you watch
I don't
it Disney
remember
Plus or
seeing
Netflix,
a thing
they
on
don't
like
come
Netflix
up.
or anything.
Yeah.
So
those are not what those are for.
So it's a bit of a false alarm, this story, in the sense that it seems to be not as big a deal. We were reporting on this leak from Sludge, which it seems to have been a little bit hasty in terms of the interpretation. So there it is. Such is the way of news. That it not only, new news comes out, but it inevitably comes out, the day after or the day of when we report on it, so that, we're wrong.
It definitely does not excuse the idea of shoving in unrelated legislation into an omnibus bill.
Yeah,
that's pretty skeevy.
Well, to be fair, it's the reason why it's called an omnibus bill.
Yeah,
is because people keep omnibus bill is kind of a pejorative.
Yeah,
I think it's not supposed to be an omnibus bill. It just becomes that because everybody sticks everything in it.
I mean, when you have a bill, my understanding is that when you have a bill that's based on here's what we're going to do this year to kind of fund people and to authorize money to be laid out to all these companies, and then you say, or not these companies, but hey, let's be honest. To all these federal agencies, and then it's oh, by the way, I also want to put legislation in here that will basically change the law in some respect in regards to the DMCA, or I want to do this other thing to change a law here or there. It's that does suck, but
apparently I was incorrect. That it's just the omnibus is supposed to be the complete budget. Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, it's not even clear that this particular thing is going to make it in. It hasn't been approved yet, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I still think it's a good idea to let them know you don't want it in there.
I do appreciate shout outs to all the people in the chat, from North Carolina, who were yay, we're in
oh yeah, in the comments of the video there were people who were we got mentioned. Why did we have to get mentioned for that?
Yeah. That's never the case with Canada, right? We're always really happy when we get mentioned. It's usually because there's something that people want to talk about that's a good thing. Very rarely do people say shitty things about Canada online. It happens.
It does happen. But I mean, sometimes shitty things happen.
Depends on where you go online, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it's okay. We see you, and we don't necessarily blame you individually.
Yeah. You and the folks from Florida can form some sort of support group.
I feel like if you're from Florida, you don't expect anybody to mention you in a good context.
Rope in South Carolina and just do a whole southeastern seaboard thing, Right.
So, which the next bit of story we talked about was about Dunkey, the YouTuber who has turned to the dark side.
Yes.
In an effort to mess around with to YouTube's algorithms, and I guess as partially as a joke, and also I think partially probably as a little as an experiment, and was hey, what happens if I just say screw it, I'll just make a bunch of clickbait terrible content. And now his view numbers have gone up a little bit, I think. Yeah. But not a massive amount. But what's important is, one, they haven't changed that much, even though he's theoretically spending way less time on the content. Although, knowing the way these things work, it's probably I know for stuff we've done, the stuff that you want to appear low effort sometimes takes longer than the difficult. Yeah. But also, apparently, his stuff has been hitting YouTube trending a lot more.
And that's, I think, that's
probably the thing he's really trying to aim for, though.
Yeah, it's the crux of the thing where it's the algorithm seems to be. Nobody really knows how the YouTube algorithm works. All we can do is look at what happens and kind of make a sense of it, right?
Nobody can be told. But
there's some ideas that get out there, your video has to be 11 minutes long, or this thing or that thing, and then everybody starts making all their content that way, and therefore it becomes true. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's true.
And also, as soon as everyone figures out what the algorithm is, they change the algorithm, because the whole once people figure it out and start gaming it, they have to change it. So by understanding it, you make it less understandable.
it's a quantum paradox, isn't it? You know, once you've been able to observe the algorithm, you change the direction it's going.
Yeah, I mean, I still think people made their videos 11 minutes long because you had to have at least 10 minutes long in order to run mid-roll ads, and now that they've changed it to 8, we're going to see most videos start to go back down to like 9.
So to me, when I wrote this was a topic that is like near and dear to my wallet,
which you keep by your heart.
Yeah, but I also that I have very little insight into because I'm not the one who interacts on YouTube all the time, and so all the best we can do is by being in Loading Ready Run is that everybody has at least a low level knowledge of here's what our expectation is of being on YouTube and what we can expect to see happen on YouTube, and so to see somebody who was already pulling in a ton of viewers and has a ton of subs, which I didn't know. Going into this, I'm like, I figured Dunkey was about, I said this to Paul and Graham, I'm like, I figured Dunkey was about 400, 500,000 people. Kind of like Tolarian Community College, right? You do good work, you get 500,000 people who are subscribed to you, a lot of people watch your videos, 300, 400,000 views, right? You kind of have that relationship where it's like, you're never going to crack that million or that 2 million or that 6 million point. And then he started to do this, and then he did. And then when I went and looked what his numbers actually look like previously and then now, like Paul said, they aren't that different. It's just that because he's making more content more often, he's posting content more often, that's the amount of views he's getting is causing him to move up trending.
Yeah.
That's kind of the inference we're making. We don't know if the algorithm works that way or not, but there's that inference that we're getting. So that's why when I got to the end of the thing and I'm like, he's got 1 million views in a week. Holy shit! Was more of a sense of like, wow, like I know that taking the stance of I really need to go make more money is like you're probably already making pretty good money, and we're not getting those kind of views. Oh God, I would trade that for a heartbeat. Like that kind of sense of desperation.
There are definitely people who would trade up for our views as well.
Yeah. So being the bean counter in the group now officially, it kind of really got me of, oh my God, I would love to have that kind of problem. But
I mean, it's a weird thing. Like, as we're talking about the algorithm and stuff, like we basically, a long time ago, we basically like threw in the towel on the like algorithm. We're just like, we can't.
Yeah.
We don't care enough to follow the vagaries of the algorithm, and try to like get our thing on trending and get a thing. We'll produce what we want. The people who like it will watch it. That's all we can do. And I mean, we could probably have more views if we did other stuff. But, the equation of views to success is not necessarily linear.
Yeah.
I mean, there is that point of like getting 1 million views does not equal like $1 million for one.
Exactly.
But also, do you want to make content that, like, for example, Beach, what if we just went full magic? Would you like that? Would you? I certainly wouldn't. I know many people within Lure like magic, but I don't.
I'm gonna say that the idea of, do you want to make content that attracts 1 million views? Yes. Do you want to make content that drags 1 million people into your community? I don't know about that.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about your own personal enjoyment and creative output.
Yes, I know.
That's of course, but that's the problem, right? Is that if you do something like that and suddenly have 1 million more people in your community, I mean, more people is good, but that's it's hard to integrate that flow of people into the community. As opposed to sort of the slow increase that we usually have.
Mm-hmm. I've seen what you're like when you don't have a job you like getting up for in the morning.
It's true.
And do you want to do that with an audience watching?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I think so.
But I do think that it's like, I'm glad that Dunkey tried this, and really, it's such a weird way to say that. I'm glad that Dunkey tried this. I'm glad that it did something to illustrate a way that the algorithm may respond. And I'm glad that it kind of like, it shone a light on something that I think everybody kind of always knew. I don't know if it leads to any sort of change in how you promote, like, because obviously the impetus is you'd want something to change because of this, wouldn't you? Or would you? Like, it's probably working in YouTube's favor.
An experiment doesn't always necessitate a change, though. An experiment just is to gather information, right?
Yeah. I think this was mostly just for fun on his part, but it's actually, it flows nicely into what we did on the for the outro, the coming up piece, which was talking about the most YouTube released their list of the most popular videos and games of 2020.
2020.
Which, by the way, Minecraft. So that's what you would want to hit. Minecraft, the most popular game on YouTube, in terms of like watch time. But this thing where the most the most viewed in the gaming category was this what was it called? EM 3-in-1 69.
Yeah, I've seen that ad actually several times.
Yeah, which is obviously like, and I've seen it too, or at least an ad similar to it. I don't know if I've seen that exact one, but it's clearly, you know, it was a video that was marked private, so like people couldn't actually access it on YouTube or find it on YouTube. So it was like, it was just somehow they were doing something in terms of how it was being displayed as an ad piece, where it was actually accumulating YouTube views, which in normal circumstances, I mean, even if you have your ads hosted on YouTube, which is a little weird, but people do that. But even in that circumstance, it shouldn't have actually been accumulating views. Like normally, if you embed a YouTube video with autoplay, that doesn't count for views. For basically this exact reason. So they're doing something funky with how they're embedding it in their mobile games, that it's actually accumulating views. I would guess it might not even be intentional on their part, because like it's private, so it's not like they're like seeding it with views and it's gonna be up on the top of the trending things, because nobody can actually access it within YouTube. So like, I don't think it was necessarily something that they were trying to do nefariously.
No,
it just illustrates a weakness in the YouTube system, and also a weakness in whoever was doing these end of the year stats, that they like, you know, pulled it from the database and then just posted it and didn't like look at the videos or notice that one of the names was like just a series of letters that seemed kind of weird. Like, maybe when you're writing that blog post, take a look at the top 5 videos or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I'm aware, there's a lot of people out there who don't read their blog posts, or don't read blog posts, period. Because I get so much email from people who are like, "Hey, we love the content on loadingreadyrun.com. Would you let us put something on your blog?" And like, no, that's not what this site is.
I've seen that ad a lot though. I actually conflate it a lot with we did that story about the game that kept showing off ads for a very specific portion of the game, but ends up being like a match 3. For the whole thing, and because there's variations of that ad. It's the same thing always, but with a different character. Sometimes with
the pulling the keys thing.
Yeah, or it'll be like with a different.
I had a tower defense one time that went from being World of Tanks to being Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, I keep getting Final Fantasy 15, and I'm like, I'm assuming you don't actually have that as a thing.
Yeah.
So it was really weird to see that come up in the episode again.
Someone actually made that game? Good! After being tired of seeing the So, because I mean, we talked about this before. That's the thing that blows my mind, is that they've got this... They're showing this ad thing, presumably because it gets better results than actually showing the real gameplay of the game. But it's like, if you've done the research to work out that people like this game that you're making, which doesn't seem like a very complicated game, doesn't seem any more complicated than, say, a match 3 game, why don't you just make that your game? Like, why are you tricking people?
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
Showing odd parts of your game that don't reflect the actual majority of the gameplay. I mean, I get mad when I can't find a proper gameplay trailer of a regular video game, never mind a mobile one. Because I expect a mobile one to actually show you.
I feel like it's one of those things where they're so used to having to trick people into downloading their stuff and like spamming and all this stuff that they've kind of lost track of what they're actually trying to do. It's like that thing where when you get like a spam email that comes in that's so obfuscated in order to try to avoid filters that it's entirely intelligible, like unintelligible, and you're like, congratulations on getting past my filter, I guess. But now, but you're not actually saying anything now. Like, you're not even trying to sell me on some Nigerian scam or sell me Cialis or something. This email is just gibberish. Like, what's happening? What are you doing with your life? Be a better spammer, I guess.
I mean, I don't want to dash anyone's dreams, and that's the real hope that you have, especially as a robot. I guess go for it, but
when I grow up, I'm gonna be a spammer. So
speaking of the future,
speaking of the future and growing up in robots and so forth.
It's a lot on this one.
Cyberpunk 2077. Which they're in the list, like when I have the list of stories that I sort of marked out for this week, and there's about like 5 for Cyberpunk. Basically various dunks on Cyberpunk, but at different angles.
yeah.
I'll be honest, there's not a lot of positive coverage of Cyber. Like the base level is that most reviews are like, it's a fine game, but kind of rough around the edges.
Yeah.
Like that those are like the main sort of the general gist is like, it's a fine game, but it's definitely pretty buggy and need a little, and so of course, ironically, need a little more time in the apparently they should have crunched on it more.
Yes.
No, they should have put this in the oven for a couple more years, probably. Like this was not a surprise. When we did this story on Cyberpunk last time, and it was like that day one patch is going to be a lot, and they didn't make their whatever for being able to go out, so they had to go off by another 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us were like, oh yes, this game will launch perfectly well.
Yeah.
Like I have to think that there's something behind the scenes in terms of the launch date. Like, either they had some contracts that they had to do it by the end of the year, or they were massively over budget because of, COVID stuff or whatever. Or there was something, because like they had to know that it was this bugginess was there.
Yeah.
And of course they also, famously said they weren't going to do crunch, and then ended up having to do crunch. And so like there was something that necessitated them putting it out when they did. That I would guess, totally, I have no inside information, but I would guess there was something external, something that was more
external pressure. Yeah.
Something that was more than just, we want to get this done. And that clearly they had some deadline that they had to hit, and they couldn't push it anymore, and so they had to. And and
it can be a combination of factors too. That's the other thing. Like, it's you can have that thing of like, well, we do have a contract that we have to have a PS4 version in place, an Xbox One version in place, or whatever by this time, because that's when we said we'd deliver on it. But also we know that we're running out of money. But also we know that we've been spending way too long on this in the first place, and everyone's getting completely just tired of working on it. So we're not getting any better work. There's all sorts of reasons that could have contributed to this.
And I mean, people. I've seen a lot of people saying that, like, everyone forgets now, but Witcher 3 was kind of iffy on launch as well.
I expect that
so
eventually
people are like,
this game gets smoothed out in terms of its graphics.
Come back in like 6 months or so, and they'll be like pretty good.
It's a weird thing to say too, right? Because it's like I bought Bloodstained through the Kickstarter. And I bought it for the Wii U, and then at some point they're like, that's not going to be a console anymore, so can we move you to the Switch? And I'm like, yeah, move me to the Switch, that sounds great. And then they moved it to the Switch, and then I heard that there were some problems with it, and they even admitted as much in their Kickstarter emails. They're like, yeah, we know that performance hasn't been very great on the Switch, but we're having like an omnibus patch come out. So I just basically sat on that game until they said there's a patch. But I've already paid for it, and it was already sitting in my library, just like on the shelf, and I'm kind of like, okay. But I know there'll be a patch for it soon. So when I saw the patch note come out, it's like, we have a patch for it. Then I installed it. Then I installed the patch, and then I went ahead and played it. So there's this, if you know you're going to play Cyberpunk in 6 months' time, regardless of what happens, I guess you could just decide to buy it right now if you're like, I like CD Projekt Red enough that I want to give them money, and so therefore I will buy the game now at full price, and I will wait 6 months, and I will wait for all the patches to come out, and then I will try it. That I think is a very valid strategy, but I'm not suggesting anybody do that.
While I will not condemn anyone for having that as a strategy, I would really prefer people wait. Even if this is a game you really want to buy, wait and read the patch notes and find out if it gets better later, because there are several games, specifically live service games, that make roadmap promises and then just get dumped before you
can't
even
deliver or
doing things.
This is something. So this is kind of interesting because, of course, you two are coming are on the Nintendo side, not side.
Yeah, but I know where this is going.
The Nintendo area, because something that is actually I find frustrating in recent times on the PC side is that with especially with like Steam and the various storefronts like Steam and Epic and stuff, is they all have automatic updates.
Right.
And unless the developer puts special effort into it, the update will just happen quietly in the background and you will not know that it has happened.
Really? You're playing their super buggy games?
And so unless the developer explicitly posts like a news post being like, hey everyone, by the way, we just updated. Here's all the stuff that changed. By default in the in the Steam client and in the Epic client, you will not be informed when one of your games has updated itself. And you won't be informed as to what the changes are. You often you can't actually tell what version you currently have. Like, you can't tell what version in the client, there's no way to tell what version you currently have. Sometimes the game itself will say, like, on its opening, on like the
or on the credits page,
or something, it'll say what version you have. But the client itself, like Steam and Epic, neither of them actually tell you what version of the game you have installed. So you don't know whether you've got, like, if you hear that update happened, you don't know whether you have that update yet or not. It's very annoying.
I don't leave Steam on unless I go to play a game. So every time I open it, it's like it tells me what the updates are, and I have to go look.
And generally,
Steam does allow you to freeze updates, definitely.
Yeah.
But it will just quietly do them in the background.
Yeah. On the Nintendo side, I believe for the most part, it will download an update. Like, so, if it's active, it can download an update to your game and then notify you that it's going to apply it when you try to start playing the game.
The Switch will not automatically download all updates for every game in your library.
Yeah.
It will. I think it looks at the last few that you've had active.
Yeah.
And if those are there, it will automatically do an update, and it will generally put up a little notification that you've had an update. But otherwise, you go to play the game again, then it tells you if there's an update available.
Yeah. So it's a little, and Getter404 is saying the cutoff for Nintendo updates is weird. I think it's anything played in the last 3 months. So yeah, because I had a game installed that I didn't know had an update at all. That I hadn't even opened it. I purchased and downloaded it, and it's just been sitting there for months. And then I was like, I should probably play this. So I went to go play it, and it's like, oh, we have to install updates. I'm like, that's fine.
You don't have to have actually played it, because I've had games where I've gotten the cart for it, and I've put the cart in, and I've not played the game, but I've done that to get the coins or the currency or whatever, and then that game will get an update automatically.
Yeah, it's different, and I mean also the relative level of a game being finished, like, because I play a lot of Nintendo first party games. Nintendo tends to be pretty good about we will bake our game until it's done and then we will release it. We don't want to ever be in a position of
Nintendo's still in the cartridge mentality, right? Where
they are.
Yeah,
it's done. There it is.
Yeah, it's on the cartridge like that because we need it to be as good as we can make it, so we can release it, so it doesn't have any showstoppers. And then even things like an Origami King and in other games where it's been like, there's a showstopper save bug here.
There's updates and stuff that they do. The one thing I know generally is that most of their games don't have that thing where you have to download another half of a game to make it work.
There's that too, but
like it's definitely come up a few times where, like, I have I'll have stuff in the Epic Store or on Steam, and I'll see like news because I'm looking at stuff for CheckPoint that a game has update that like we're pushing an update to this game. But often the stores will be like a couple, sometimes like one store will get it before another store gets it or whatever, right? And so I'll launch my copy of the game and I'm like, do I have the new version already? I don't know. There's no way to tell. I can't, there's nothing in Steam that tells me what version of the game I currently have.
Yeah. And there's no update log. There's nothing.
There can be an update log, but like if I search for updates, no updates found. Okay, so does that mean I have the latest version, or does that mean that they haven't put out the update yet?
Right.
Anyway, pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
I find that if a game has especially landed super buggy, there's somebody who writes an article in one of the places that I read that the thing has gotten an update. And maybe that just happens a lot with Nintendo-related games because sometimes Nintendo news is very slow, and so they will report on even when the console gets an update, even though there is no change to the console.
It's like a very minor thing that would help me a lot personally in these that could be. It seems like it would, and I'm always surprised that it's not there. Is that like why the version number of the game is not immediately available, like in the dashboard, in like the launch page of that game or whatever. Like not by the game developer, but just like Steam just reports the version that you currently have.
Yeah.
It seems odd that information is not immediately available.
Yeah, because that should be something that Steam has as a thing, right? So you would think that would be information they could display, but maybe they don't want to for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's some subtlety there. I don't know. Anyway,
Cyberpunk.
So that's talking about the idea of these bugs and updates and things. So
there's going to be some really good glitch videos.
So it's going to be better. I'm going to say that I feel like there might be some more Cyberpunk stories over the coming months.
Oh, yeah.
And even some more silly ridiculousness.
I showed Heather a video last night where someone was like, I'm playing Cyberpunk, but I can't progress through the game because I'm standing here on a corner watching all the cars drive by, every single one of them driving into a barrier, crashing, and then yelling at me for causing them to crash, and then driving away. And it's them standing and looking, watching a car just drive up near them, running into a barrier, and then going, hey, watch it, and then just driving. Like, the dude was just standing there. He's not even like...
Yeah.
They're yelling at a barrier is what they're doing, and it's like over and over, and it's like every car does it. Every car hits the same thing.
Or I saw things of again with cars, like somebody like stopped their car in the middle of the road.
Right.
And the other cars on the road just stopped. Like it just created a traffic jam forever.
Oh. Nobody tried to drive around.
Nobody tried like they just go, whoop, I guess I live here now. I'm just gonna sit here.
So we've got like just like weird glitches. We also had that part of the story that was the genital glitching of boobs through shirts and dicks through pants.
Yep.
Which incidentally is interesting because that means that those things are there underneath the clothing.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of a big deal. Almost all the time in video games and even in like CG animation, the clothes are actually part of the texture on the person as opposed to a separate piece on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that the clothes are actually a separate piece on top and the body and their bodies underneath are separate is actually kind of a big deal. Like I think I don't. Maybe it's been done before, but it seems like kind of an interesting idea.
I can't imagine being in a Pixar movie and then watching some mom's ass just clip out through her pants.
I really wish we had found out that was also a thing. Like, I know there was that clever wordplay of like, oh, they're showing their whole ass, but I think if we had a picture of that as well during that line,
of someone's ass clipping through their pants,
that would have been really funny.
I am proud of that line, by the way.
There's been some pretty amazing, like in the bonus features for like Toy Story on the Toy Story DVDs and stuff. There's some pretty amazing render bugs they show. Stuff with like, there was one that was just there was Woody, but his eyes and mouth had been offset like 2 feet to the side.
Oh God!
So they were just like, it was just like there were eyes that were tracking perfectly and moving perfectly and stuff, but his face was just like nothing, and there's just these empty eye sockets and like eyes. It was incredibly creepy.
I guess the other thing to say too is that Cyberpunk has in their end user license agreement on launch, it had the epilepsy warning, like the flashing warning, the thing that you never read when you buy a game or any sort of software.
It's always kind of in small print, right?
That was in there. So, but obviously the photosensitivity triggering piece, they will be putting I believe we mentioned this in the story, but I just want to be clear to anybody who maybe hasn't heard the story or doesn't know anything about this so far, but was thinking about getting Cyberpunk. There are parts of the game that will flash, and there is a part of the game that's actually meant to, from the way that it works, it's meant to be like the things that trigger photosensitivity. You can close your eyes during them, and hopefully that won't cause a problem.
They're not skippable or something.
They're not skippable.
Is what I understand. I believe today they've added in the patch that
warns people at the top of the
game. That makes a much bigger deal about it.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be working on something to fix to
make the actual
bright flashing things. I would have assumed it's really weird because I'm used to a lot of rhythm games that when they have that as a thing, they have a section for you to turn that off.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have bright flashing lights.
Apparently they smoothed it. They've actually done for the PC. There's a patch that came out today to fix the effect too. Not only put the warning on, but smooth out the effect.
Okay.
Again, as always for console, it'll be a while because they have to recertify for patches. But
I'm not certain that's
good.
Like, I hope they're planning to do more than that. Like, smoothing it out is great, but making it so people can turn it off, because there are different levels of sensitivity for a lot of
And there's also the glitchy flashing and stuff that happens in the game on purpose.
Yeah,
those apparently can also cause like discomfort and whatnot too. So
yeah, it's tough. Like this is the problem is that like basically the entire aesthetic of the game is based around glitchy flashing lights.
Yeah,
which is a tough one. Like this is a tough one.
Yeah. Like saying you should patch them out entirely is like not a good idea, but do you actually does the engine support you adding an option to turn that stuff off or reduce it
to dim
entirely?
Because sometimes it's a combination of the brightness and the flashing. Generally, like the thing we did for Desert Bus that one year, Gangnam Hell, the reason that is so derisive for some people is it's not the individual components, it's the mixture of all of them together that actually is really hard on people.
Yeah,
and obviously, like there was a game I played on stream called Stranger Tales.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the title.
there was like a collection of kind of mystery stories untold. That's it. Thank you, Getter 404. Stories Untold. That's like this sort of collection of scary mystery things, and there's one section in it where information is being delivered to you basically by a strobing red light, and you have to like try to. And I'm not somebody who's susceptible to those kind of problems, but it still makes you. It's still not a very pleasant experience to deal with.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really. I mean, again, maybe there was a warning at the beginning of the thing, but yeah, it's tough. And I do one thing that people were talking about, that there's been a lot of backlash against the reporter who Lena Rupert.
Yeah.
Rupert,
Who
was originally
if a person
talking about this.
If a person reports on a thing that is and you know that they are susceptible to that, and you send them a video of flashing lights, that is assault, and you're a monster.
Yeah. And it's, well, the thing that's frustrating is that she reported on it as part of she posted it because she was also doing a review and the review was quite positive of the game, aside from this aspect. But the game was, she was positive about the game, but it's frustrating that like other news agencies sort of took that aspect of it and kind of threw under the bus on it, like as it like this person is complaining, posted about this.
Yeah. Well, they want to give credit because it's like, we're not the ones who discovered it, so we have to let people know who it was who discovered it, because we don't want to just walk away from this being like, well, we found out about this, whatever. Like, you got the scoop.
Yeah, there's a tone.
But
then, for instance, most of those reports said that like they had no warning when it was in the EULA. So when I'm looking at the news stories about this, every single one is like, the headline will be, there's thing in Cyberpunk that can cause seizures, and then the first line will be like, updated. There actually is a thing in the UL. Like everyone did it, and then had to update it later on because they didn't do the thing in the EULA, and they had to put that in. So it was like a lot of unfortunate reporting got done about it, that because she was the source for the original thing, got sort of inferred back onto her for it.
It's made a target,
which is always frustrating.
Yeah, and the weird thing is too, it's like, don't blame the other journalists for doing that, because part of their job is to report things that are news. And it definitely because you can report something in the news and everyone can read it and be like, okay, I am aware. Okay, I don't like the fact that this person is saying this thing because it goes against the way that I feel about a piece of media. But then to turn around and be like, I now need to get even with this person by causing them seizures. I'm like, I think that's on the people who are now overreacting.
I mean,
unless you're telling people to do that, then
at a basic level, yeah. I mean, there's never any reason to be doing like that's not. It's not an excuse to the people who are coming after these various journalists about this and just about like ratings in general. Like, obviously, that's an incredibly stupid thing to be doing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of frustrating that the people who are reporting on this stuff, knowing what the world is like, aren't a little more sensitive about that. I guess.
Yeah.
About what the impact that their reporting will have on their colleague.
Yeah.
The
Twitch story, the one that some of you might have missed.
Yeah. That they have updated their harassment guidelines with a lot more, it's really good and I think important, that a lot more very like explicit examples. Of course, it's like including but not limited to, but still really explicit examples of the kinds of things that are not okay, and they're good examples too. Like they're good, good stuff. But I think that's like, because you're in a with streaming, there's a situation where there's a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different places, a lot of different countries, a lot of different communities that may have different standards and stuff, but being very explicit about like really giving good examples of this is not appropriate to say, this is not appropriate to say, this is not appropriate to say. And also putting it in the context of the result, like they've said sort of explicitly that they're evaluating sort of the reception of your comments.
Yeah, and you can think about that
more so than the intent.
Because you can definitely think about that in terms of like the point where it's like using emotes in racist ways, and it's like, but how do you do that, or how do you prove that? And I'm like, well, you could, somebody who's trying to use emotes in a racist way could always be like, I was just posting emotes, I wasn't doing anything wrong. It's like, yeah, but the way that the person who's being harmed by it is inferring it is that they're seeing it as being racist.
Because it was a combination. It was the way you combine emotes, right? It's like you take a series together, and I'm like, to me, that's just no different than a combination of words.
Yeah. And so there is that sense of, because in that case it's like, well, that's what a dog whistle is, isn't it? Like that's literally that's what the term that we use to describe that kind of thing, where it's like, I want to say a thing that's awful, but I want to do it in a way that nobody can actually call me on it, because I can just be like, oh, I'm being innocent. So it's great that they're doing this, and fantastic. And of course, the only reason why I took Twitch to task is because I think, and I don't run Twitch, but I think saying, here's all of our new guidelines, they're coming into effect, and boy, are we going to ban a lot of you assholes for doing this stuff on January 22nd, 2021. So you have 6 weeks to just be fucking terrible, I guess, because that's kind of the thing that got me, is I'm like, why wouldn't you say, hey, we have new guidelines. They're in effect immediately, and we will be opening public comment where people can engage with us, because they're doing that anyway. They've opened public comment, but it's like, don't just say we're doing this thing in 6 weeks, but now let's talk about it. I'm like, if this is a thing that you see you need to tackle on your platform, I'd rather you be a little inaccurate and show that you're doing your best and trying to protect the people that are trying to protect your streamers, and try to protect the people who are like in your chat from being yelled at for whatever reason. I would rather that be the case. It's weird, right? It's because it's like, I don't want anyone to be sent up the river for no reason, but
I think there's a lot of value in a platform like Twitch making those guidelines very explicit, rather than leaving it more up to the discretion of the moderators in a specific thing. Just because then the moderators don't have to defend stuff. They can just be like, this is out. Look at because of Twitch, this is not our rule that we're now having to defend. This is Twitch's policy. Get the hell out.
Yeah, and if it's a good, strong, moral, ethical policy, like if they have talked with people I'm sorry, hon, I just want to finish my thought on this. But it's a good, strong, moral, and ethical policy, and they have been working with people to, like, organizations to help them develop something like this that actually reflects the way that they want to build these guidelines, then I think you can be strong about it. I think it's like kind of like how we've done with our Discord and stuff. It's like we're trying to build a positive community, and we ask that our mods help develop that positive community. We ask that our mods help each other develop that community, and then help us apply that to the people within the community, and hope that our people who are in our community are then also helping to inculcate that culture among other people who are showing up and being a part of it as well. And therefore, it's like we've never had to formally go to a LGBTQ group or to a BIPOC group or anything like that and say, please help us do this. We're trying to do the best we can do based on how we want to be morally and ethically. And I'm like, if Twitch has taken steps to work with people on that, why couldn't you just say, we're turning these things on immediately, and risk a backlash from maybe the people you don't want to have on your platform in the first place?
So I read the tweets because they always tweet these things under Twitch support, not actually the Twitch channel, it's Twitter for some reason.
Right.
And they did mention that the updates for these were coming in more languages over the coming weeks. So the whole thing isn't written up in everybody's native language to go out to everybody. You have to remember that Twitch is a worldwide service with people who don't just speak English.
That does make a lot more sense then. Yeah, that's why you want to say we want to do this. What they might want is
to have some of that time to also get their feedback now so that they can change things. Now, I'm not going to bat for Twitch here. I do agree. I think these things should be implemented faster, but there's probably reasonings behind why they chose to tell people about this now and why they're not putting them into effect until the end of January.
Yeah. I mean, people would like having warnings whenever anything changes on Twitch. That's just, I think, that is a good thing to give people a warning. But
yeah, I mean, having some adjustment period. And I really like because, I mean, you know, there's that aspect of, like, what's okay in this community, what's not and stuff, right? But I mean, fundamentally, if you say something and the streamer or their trusted mods say, that's not cool, and you continue saying that because you feel that you have the right to say that, then that's how you get kicked out, right? So it's like, if that's what it means by, like, if you're saying a thing that you feel is innocuous but the streamer doesn't take it that way, and you are asked to stop doing that and you don't, you are now in the harassment area.
Generally, you get banned.
Yeah,
but it's like just the argument that, like, what? I'm not saying anything bad.
Yeah,
doesn't matter. Like, it could be a very innocuous thing that you're saying, but for whatever reason, the streamer doesn't want you saying it. And if that's the case, don't say it.
Yeah. The part about inciting malicious raids on a streamer's social media accounts, I thought was I wanted that in there because I thought it was a really interesting point, because it's basically saying if you're coming into Twitch and you're getting information on a streamer's social media accounts, and then you go brigade them on Twitter or Facebook or somewhere else, it's like, well, then clearly that's a problem on those platforms, right? That's not something you did on Twitch. It's something you're doing on another platform. But for Twitch to be like, we see this, we recognize that our streamers live a life outside of our platform, and if people are harassing you on Twitter, we might not be able to do anything about them harassing you on Twitter, but we sure as hell can get rid of them on our platform.
Yeah.
We can make that something where it's like, we see that this person has caused this thing. Maybe it's a high-profile streamer trying to harass another high-profile streamer. It's like, well, you're off our platform. You can't be on Twitch anymore because you did it.
When I find streamers who are streaming other people's streams live and making fun of them, they're doing it on the same platform.
Yeah.
And they're usually doing it to smaller streamers because they're dicks.
This is... Yeah, I mean, the policing of other platforms, I think, is a tricky area that, like, let's say it's slippery slope, but it's like an area that can be, that can have issues in terms of, it's like, how far do you go in that direction in terms of policing what people do on other platforms. That might have a completely different orientation or culture or whatever.
Yeah.
But having that ability, and there, obviously with a lot of this stuff, there is, and they talk about it in the policy, that there is a lot of discretion that has to be dealt with.
It's why they're guidelines and not rules.
Yeah. I did like, it says, they're in the, like, little fact section at the bottom. It's like, if I get a whole bunch of people to like complain about this one thing, will that help? And they're like, no, it won't.
I mean, that's a fair question to ask and a fair question to have an answer to, whether or not you would do that, because that is part of internet culture to say things like, this person is doing a terrible thing, please report them for spam.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not to say that that can't be a good way to bring something to the attention of maybe a company, Twitter, who doesn't listen to people. But it is a thing that happens, right? So you should be prepared for that to be a question.
And yeah, but I guess the implicit idea there is that Twitch, I mean, and who knows whether this will actually happen, but at least the sort of implicit promise there is that Twitch considers considers one report to be still important enough to investigate. You know, that it's not that the volume of reports about a single thing isn't necessarily, you know, going to be differentiating whether. So if you're a small streamer and somebody's messing with you and it's just you're still going to get, you know, it's still going to be investigated, and it's still going to be there's still going to be a concern about it.
People are actually going to take your complaint seriously and not be like, well, I'm sorry, you're too small for us to give a shit about.
Ideally, the way this is supposed to work, yes.
Yeah. I mean, if there are lots of reports about one person doing a whole bunch of different things, that's a different. That's obviously
I just personally don't want to make that promise on Twitch's behalf because I don't know how well they actually will investigate things.
Yeah. But I definitely like to.
I would say that is the promise that is being tried to make in that line. Whether they do it or not, who knows? But
I hope that is a promise that they can keep up with. Like, ideally, that is the thing that you want. And I as much as we rag on those companies because they do deserve some ragging on, it's hopeful, and I'd like them to be good, especially since I'm on them.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's places I hang out.
It is the right sentiment anyway. Whether it will actually be followed through upon, who knows? But
wait, is that true? There's a backseating allowed tag on Twitch? Neat. I didn't know about that. Do people actually use that?
You could go on Twitch and just like search, I need to backseat game somebody. Or
I think it's more in the idea that you're allowed to.
Yeah, but you can but you could filter for streams that want backseat gaming if you're really desperate for it.
I don't think I'd know what to do with that power. I think I would be stunned.
All right, let's talk about some of the other stories. I mean, we sort of touched on a bunch of other stuff here as we kind of wandered around randomly in our discussion. But part of the there was a big blog post that Microsoft put out a couple days ago, basically detailing their roadmap for 2021, and including obviously lots of plans for Xbox Series X and Series S games. But one of the cool things is they've talked about they're expanding the Xbox cloud gaming thing to iOS and Windows PCs. So theoretically, you can play your Xbox games on iOS or on your PC or iOS, which in some ways is slightly odd in that they just released a really expensive new console, but that maybe you won't need. But who knows?
I mean, I really think that while they have that new console, Xbox really wants to focus on the Game Pass portion and making their games show up on different places with the Game Pass as opposed to buy our console and only play games there.
It was definitely the fact that there was some worry that it was probably not going to come to iOS at all too, right?
Right. It's currently Android. They actually it is available on Android right now. But
I mean, a lot of digital ink has been spilled over the idea that it's like, well, Xbox cloud gaming can't come to iOS ever because Apple would never allow them to compete with Apple Arcade because Apple's trying to build a gaming service. They don't want to. What?
I think it's actually, and the trick here is I think it's actually browser based. So they're just like, we don't need to be in the App Store.
Yeah. And even then, I mean, I know that the Apple's App Store has some rules about not allowing executable environments or emulation environments, and maybe that's something they think this would come under if you made a native app for it. But hey, it's browser based, so yeah.
So that's cool. To be honest, so I've actually because Steam has been doing there's Steam remote gaming, for a while now, and there's an app for iOS, so theoretically you can have a game running on your computer and play it on your iPad, like any Steam games on your computer. Which was one of those things where I was like, oh man, that's so cool. I'm going to totally play. Oh, this isn't actually very good. Games that aren't designed for touch aren't actually good to play on.
On a tablet.
Yeah, I don't like this.
Yeah. So I assume something like Slay the Spire would be pretty good on a tablet.
Yeah.
I mean, they did make a version for that for...
People will come... I mean, obviously there are controller peripherals and there are more. But... Okay, what else? Other stuff here? Actually, speaking of controllers... so the PS5 is currently, anyway, you can only use PS5 controllers with the PS5.
Yeah.
You can plug in the PS4, you can plug in the DualShock 4, but you can only use it to navigate menus.
Or to play old PS4 games. Not PS, but if the PS4 game has like a PS5 update, like if you've got like the Spider-Man or whatever, that'll be like enhanced in PS5, it'll stop working with your PS4 controller. And the problem is, like, theoretically, I don't think there's anything stopping third-party people from making PS5 controllers, hypothetically, but none have been certified yet.
And apparently none of the adapters work either to plug in the PS4. Yeah, the current ones anyway.
Because, presumably they use the same controller interface. And so basically, and so for whatever reason, the PS5 controller seems to be not, like, whatever protocol they're using for the controller is not compatible with the old stuff. Although, obviously, you can use it in the menus, so... Mm-hmm. But anyway, that right now, that means that everybody's third-party controllers, including third-party like assistive device controllers.
Yeah, that's been a big deal. Out of luck.
In contrast to, of course, the Xbox, which has been doing really, really well with the special Xbox like assistive controller, and I believe they're backwards compatible all the way back to 360. Maybe I don't know about that, but you can definitely use your Xbox One controllers on a Xbox Series X. So this isn't like the Xbox or the PS5 can't have third-party controllers, I don't think. But
no,
they have currently not certified any, and it'll probably be a little while before the third-party ecosystem gets up and running on it.
Yeah, I imagine it will take some time.
You can use a PS4 controller to play PS5 games over remote play.
Yeah, I think I've heard weird. That. That's there's like some weird things like that it won't let you do, and other things that it will let you do, and it's like, but you probably could have let it.
Yeah, like that seems highly suspicious.
Yeah.
And speaking of highly suspicious, Flash. Remember that?
Flash.
Remember Flash?
Yeah, he goes back in time if he runs fast enough.
Yep. Yeah. Flash, the internet technology, which was what made videos go. And also,
that was his father's name.
And also what made internet web video games or web games go for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you are a longtime internet user, you might remember Armor Games, which was or is a one of these big like outlets that had tons and tons of games on it, right? And you go there and you could play all sorts of stuff. The majority of which were Flash games, and now they have like HTML5 games and various other technologies, but a ton of their stuff is Flash games, and so I believe actually yesterday, Adobe officially released the last Flash update that they will ever do. Like Flash has been persona non grata on browsers for a while now, but you could install it if you had to.
Yeah.
But Adobe has now cut support for Flash as of December 2020. And so Armor Games is apparently working, or they're working on implementing a third party Flash emulation layer, so that they can make sure that all your silly little Flash games continue working, which is great. Like, Flash games were like basically all for the first like 3 or 4 years. Every mobile game was basically just a port of an existing Flash game.
Yeah, exactly. Because you'd already made it, so you're like, we just rewrite it in something that works this way.
Like, I remember even like when Angry Birds first came out, I was like, oh, this game. I played this game like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Everyone remembers this game, and these guys went ahead and just made one you had to pay for.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So anyway, it's kind of, I just thought this was kind of an interesting aspect where it's like trying to migrate this stuff into the, we've talked about this before, but the idea of archiving games is kind of interesting, and something that is becoming more and more of an issue as technology progresses and stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if like they have like the like archive. I don't know if it's actually on archive.org, but there's like the like video game archive thing that has like a ton of like Tiger Electronics games that you can play in your browser, and like a bunch of like NES games that you can play in your browser. I wouldn't be surprised if they set up like some sort of weird like sandboxed version of Flash so you could play all these old games.
And it's weird too, right? Because it's like the reason why Flash really had to go away is because of how insidious all of the other stuff that wasn't the games, like Flash-based ads, would do like all sorts of crazy shit.
It was a very big security, what they call a security surface.
Yeah.
That it had a lot of capabilities outside of the video and game stuff that could cause serious issues.
And like, I mean, Apple was the one who basically got the whole ball rolling because Steve Jobs wrote that letter, Thoughts on Flash, and everyone's like, to hell with Steve Jobs. And it's like, but he's making a lot of good points, because it's like, this technology, if it was only being used for things that were like good for entertainment, then you could deal with that. But the fact is, it's not. It's being inserted into browser stuff all the time. You're being made to do all sorts of other crazy shit. It's a huge security surface, that, like you say, so it's like it's so vulnerable, and then that means that it's running down battery life on people's laptops and on people's phones and like all sorts of stuff. And it's like, that's why we're just going to abandon Flash entirely and ban it from our platform. It's kind of like they made a very strong, courageous choice. They like to throw that word courage around a lot. It's like, it's like, if it wasn't for all of that other stuff, Flash would have probably still stick around and be something that people would still want to keep using. But yeah,
it's hard to say.
It got stolen and perverted and turned into something that really isn't valuable. And that's too bad, because it means that for people who really, I see people out there who are going like, I really enjoyed those old games and I don't get to play them anymore. I'm like, let's be real, you weren't playing them anymore. A lot of you weren't.
That's not the point of the games I have in my backlog,
right?
Though. It's just that they're there forever. They're there when I need them. In 10 years, when I finally get to one, it'll be there.
And I appreciate that there are people out there who are like, we want to try to preserve this, because that it does teach us a lot. Video game preservation does teach us an awful lot, and it lets you do. I mean, if it wasn't for video game preservation, Desert Bus for Hope wouldn't exist. So we are a little biased about that. That's very important that is something that persists.
In fact, I mean, I was watching a little bit of James's stream this morning. He was doing like a fishing stream this morning, and he was just playing these like little sort of fishing mini games, a lot of which back in the day could have easily been Flash games.
Right.
Yeah.
But
now they're whatever, either.
He started with Minecraft. I know I saw him do some Stardew Valley in there. He sent me a DM telling me he didn't think that VOD needed to go up on YouTube, but he's wrong. It's going up, whether he likes it or not. It's only an hour, James. Can't tell me what to do.
Valorant. That's a game that still exists.
Yeah.
Sorry, I shouldn't be I shouldn't be snarky about it. It's apparently a very good game that lots of people play. In fact, lots of the Loading Ready Run crew play it. Just because it's not something that I particularly am interested in. But then again, I'm not interested in like Destiny or
yeah, that's a game people still play.
Or like Overwatch or the other stuff that are actually very popular games. So anyway, Valorant is way ahead of all the other games. They have vast amounts of technology around fancy guns. Which I don't think, to be honest, I don't think the other games can catch up at this point. So we talked about, like a couple months ago, they came out with dragon guns.
And those looked really cool.
And
they animated really neatly. I will give them that.
And to be clear, these are not guns that have dragons painted on them. This is, you are actually holding a little dragon that shoots stuff, and
it helps you reload.
You reload by feeding it.
It takes it with its little hot hands. Like I don't do first person shooters, but if I did, Dragon Gun, I would go for that.
Yeah, dragons. Yeah. But now there's a new thing they're doing.
So there's a new thing. So for Christmas, so for one thing they're doing a snowball fight. They're bringing out a patch, one of the things you can do is like a snowball fight thing, which is cool, and super fun. Not that unique. Like there's other first person shooter games that have like snowball fight mini game things that they put in around Christmas for fun. But they're also adding a set of weapons called the Winter Wonderland skins weapons, which is a ton of weapons that all have they look basically like they're transparent with they're a snow globe with like a little European village, like mountain town inside the gun.
So this is a glass gun, you're saying. This is going to get destroyed easily.
Yeah. And now they're not using a snow globe to shoot. They're using a gun that is essentially a snow globe.
Yes. Yeah. And as you move around in the game, if you go into like a dark place in the game, it becomes night in the little town in your gun. And when you go
to do something with all these cycles, you know? It's like, is that 3080 RTX or whatever the hell it is sitting in your computer just not getting a workout? Well,
yeah.
Valorant's got you covered.
Now, I don't think the little town is like animated in the sense of like little people going about their day-to-day jobs inside.
That's good.
But
really
lights come on in houses and stuff.
It's like a little Sim City world inside your gun that you have to deal with. But yeah, they have this thing where the time of day inside your gun changes depending on the light level in the area you're in, which is, although I'm just imagining somebody like hiding in the shadows and you just like walk over and you see like a bunch of little adorable houses. You
see all the lights off the gun.
Little adorable houses with their lights on. You're like, aha! There's somebody.
It's like watching a ninja try to sneak around, and on its little daggers, it's like strung Christmas lights because it's festive.
Somebody fires the gun, and it's just a little people who live in the town come flying out. It's just little bullets who live in the town. That's all.
Also, there's a melee weapon that's a candy cane.
Oh, good.
That you can beat people up with, which I believe it's like changes the like coloring on it changes stuff. I don't know.
Depending on how much you lick it, like what?
Oh God, lick the end of it and turn it into a shiv.
Hey! We already did a crap shot about that.
It is one of those things where like there is that there's almost like the disappointed or the like disappointed parent thing. Where it's like, oh, that's a very good thing that you did there. That looked like a lot of fun. So, but I guess by you spending all the time doing that means your game is totally bug-free, right?
Right.
That means that you worked hard and you did all your homework and you got all the stuff that was on your roadmap done before you had fun, right?
Thanks for those flashbacks, Paul. It's like, I did a really cool thing. Yeah, you did your homework too, right? No. Can't you just be happy with the cool thing I just did?
And finally, in I think this is the last one. Yeah, in
so.
more streaming news. This is a neat idea. So Facebook, in the last over
the summer, I think
since the summer, has did this program where I know this is positive news about Facebook. I'm confused.
Sometimes it happens. Like
they've done this program where they are they've pledged over $200 million to support black-owned organizations. I think internationally, wherever, but which is like, yay! I mean, you could argue that they're the cause of some of the problems in the first place, but you know what? $200 million is $200 million. We'll take it. It's good.
Yeah.
But as part of that, they are earmarking $10 million for specifically to black gaming content creators and streamers and things in order to, what that form will take. I don't know. Presumably, it's some sort of supplementary piece.
It's because it's based on Facebook Gaming, which is the streaming platform, and it sounds like the focus is on bringing black streamers to the platform and then paying them monthly, but providing mentorship and a few other things, and trying to be and basically the amount you would get will be based on the content that you deliver, and I believe also on the popularity of how good you are at like entertaining people, obviously, because you're getting paid, so I guess it's that kind of merit based. But it's meant to support them and help act as like an incubator to help black streamers who could be reaching a larger audience, need time to help grow their audience, to give them that opportunity to do that. And they interview in the article on Kotaku, they interview a Twitch streamer named King Richard who moved to Facebook Gaming, I believe, to be a part of this program. And it sounds like King Richard's stance is essentially, great. Give me the shot. Let's see how this goes, right? Like I need everybody needs help, so I would love to take advantage of that.
I mean, when you see these things like, some of these like high profile exclusive lock-ins that have happened in the past year or two with like, Ninja or Shroud or all these, these really huge streamers that have been like, I mean, for a while was Mixer was like, we'll give you however many millions of dollars to stream on our service. This is more interesting to me than like, it's like rather than giving however many millions of dollars to a big streamer to come from Twitch and go over to Facebook or whatever. How about supporting like a bunch of different streamers in monetary, but also in other ways to, obviously part of it is they want them to come over to Facebook, but I like it. Although, of course,
I'm not about to go watch Facebook Gaming. I don't have a Facebook account even because I deleted that, but I would. I think it's still a good thing that they're doing.
I mean, there is that aspect where, like, when Beej was talking about, they're helping mentor people and helping them, get a bigger audience. My first thought was like, well, we'll help you find a bigger audience, like on Twitch.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see, right? Because if they are coaxing people over from Twitch and they're hoping to bring people off of Twitch as well to come to Facebook Gaming to watch their favorite streamers,
I feel like that was the plan with Mixer and what they were doing with, because if the idea was we put in someone who's got a large audience even if only 20% of that audience comes with them, that's still like a huge boost.
Yeah.
And then eventually maybe more people come over, and then people are like, well, that's happening over there, it's better over there now, let's just like hop platforms. But I think the idea that people will just hop a platform when you're a smaller streamer and you've already kind of got what little you've managed to get, you're not likely to be like, oh, I'll just go over here and hope everyone comes with me.
I also kind of love this idea that it's like, yeah, to be honest, I don't actually know how prominent Facebook gaming is. The fact that I don't know how prominent it is probably means that it's not that like it's not on the radar of. It's not really on my radar in terms of like a place to be posting gaming content. But so I love this idea that it's like it's not it's like Facebook gaming as a destination isn't really established yet. So but the idea of like seeding it with a ton of these of black streamers and streamers that might not otherwise be able to stand out against the tons and tons of people who are streaming on Twitch or whatever, rather than if somehow becomes, I don't know if this will happen, probably won't, but the idea that it's like somehow Facebook gaming becomes like the place to go to see like streamers who are streamers, black streamers
who aren't white,
black streamers or streamers from other minorities or whatever, like that, just because there's so many because they sort of seed it with a bunch of people already, then that's sort of, it becomes self-fulfilling, right? That more and more people go there because that's where everyone else is. In some ways it's kind of cool that if they could get that going. I don't know if it will, but it's cool.
It's always hard to tell with these things.
Yeah. I mean, the stats from 2018 globally showed that the streaming audience, streamers and the streaming audience, 71.5% of those people are white. Hey, look. So it makes sense that it's like you want to encourage more people. You want to show off that it's like this can be more than just white people doing this. So let's help make a difference there. And I'm like, that's great, because that's what the whole point of the program is to be like, let's make a difference there. Let's actually elevate people who may not have otherwise had a chance. So good for Facebook, and I hope it works out. I very rarely would ever say good for Facebook about anything. A bunch of
people who they give money to get money out of it.
Yeah.
And if they end up abandoning Facebook and being successful elsewhere, I'm also good with that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems unfortunate that it has to be said. It's like, good for Facebook. I hope it's not an evil trap.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, that seems good, but we're all extremely suspicious.
Yeah, is this an empty jar in the forest you're asking me to step into? Like, what the hell's happening here?
Oh, is that how the wizard gets people inside?
Maybe, yeah. Gives people streaming contracts and puts them in the jar.
All right. Well, that was all the stuff we had marked off. I mean, we talked a little bit about the video game awards, but to be honest, there wasn't like a ton of. I guess there's the Sephiroth in Smash was like the big news piece for that.
I got my favorite part of Smash out of that night, the reveal video. That's the only thing I care about with Smash. Oh, and I guess I should go check the awkward zombie comic to see if Katie does an update, because Smash House comics.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. There'll be a new person who comes in to the Smash House. Katie Teeter's awkward zombie, if you're wondering what we're talking about. But
who? Let's face it. As far as I'm concerned, didn't get an invite.
Yeah. There's a new Mass Effect game, so BioWare's got stuff to do, I guess.
Yeah, it's called Will Continue. That's the subtitle they gave it.
Yes, the ongoing adventures of William Continue.
All right. So cool stuff. I think that was all the other news we want to talk about. So let's talk about news. Important non-video game loading ready run news.
News.
Ready run news.
Which is way more important than video game news.
We announced a thing on Twitter, Paul.
Yeah. Do you like coffee?
Do you like Surge?
Yeah.
You can have both those things together.
Two great tastes that taste great together. In fact, it's actually mostly the same taste, just twice.
Surge just tastes like a bowl of coffee.
Surge, because Surge and coffee are synonymous, and that's why it makes so much sense to have coffee with Surge. This is something that we've has been in the works, as you might imagine, for a very long time, because it was shot mostly over not last summer, but like the summer 2019.
Yes, and let's be fair here. This is a project that Surge and Chris did together.
Yes.
This is, and then they came with 2 Loading Ready Run, and we're putting it out, and we're finally getting to put it out starting on Sunday.
Yeah. It was something that obviously Surge has wanted to do for a long time, and we're like, yes, you should do that, and did indeed, and we're happy to be able to provide, support for it and hosting and so forth for it. But it is most definitely it's Surge's baby.
It's a 6-episode series for what they've got going on. It'll start this coming Sunday. It is not going to be YouTube premiere. It's trust me. It's
as people are asking in chat.
That's not what it's going to be.
It's just going to be up on the channel.
It will be going up on youtube.com/loadingreadyrun. You will get to see them then. And
how often will they be going up?
Once a week.
There we go.
For 6 weeks.
Yep.
Because there's only 6 episodes. That is when the content will conclude for a portion of time, probably.
Mm-hmm. There's no. Yeah. I don't. I can tell you that there are currently 6 episodes. Don't have any current plans for doing more episodes, but I'm sure that could happen because I think you're going to really, really enjoy it.
Yeah. Let's get through our 6 first, right?
And so it's all about it's coffee, both coffee here, specifically here in Victoria, showing off some of the really neat coffee places here in Victoria, but also just about the art and preparation of coffee, and it's just basically
and
Surge really going deep on what he loves, which is
and maybe you're not a coffee drinker. That's okay. If you like Surge, he's in it a lot. I'm sure he will make up for your not liking of coffee.
He's the guy on the screen, after all.
As I mean, I've seen some people mention it, and I'm the same. That like, even if it's a topic, like I don't drink coffee much, but when somebody is as enthusiastic about a topic as Surge is about coffee, it's wonderful to just see them be able to get sort of show their passion. So I've really enjoyed the stuff that I've seen of it, and I think you will too.
What we got? What else we got coming up?
Oh, you're right. There's an up next.
Yeah. In fact,
that's basically our news.
So that's happening. Yeah. That's happening on. That's going up on YouTube on Sunday, but in about an hour and 20 minutes, we're going to be doing Friday Night Paper Fight, where it's going to be Commander.
Nice.
And this week it's going to be Ben Wheeler and Ben Ulmer and Surge and special guest Krim, who is a Magic streamer and friend, and from what I understand, a big Commander player. So that should be super fun. And then on Saturday, Adam is going to continue his Demon's Souls Play It Forward.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Sunday, Rhythm Cafe, No Straight Roads.
Yep.
continuing
I'm gonna
on with those wonky roads.
Ian went into the office for the first 2 of that. This is our 3rd one, and I'm gonna go into the office because it's my turn. But we didn't want to delay the game anymore, so I'm going to try and figure out how to play the game midway through a game, and I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, no problemo.
That's probably fine.
And then on Monday, Demon's Souls continues, followed by the continuation of Not a Drop to Drink. This is episode 2.
Yeah, and we left episode 1 in a cliffhanger, so...
Yeah, a van hanger. If you haven't been watching Not a Drop to Drink, you're really missing out. It is a super, super great show with some great RPG playing by Heather, among other people.
I like to think I did an okay job.
Yeah, you did. It was super, super sweet. So that's happening on Monday, and also, of course, the next Monday. And I can also tell you that there will be a recap episode, or not a recap, but like a
table talk.
Sort of post-mortem.
We'll probably question each other about our life choices or something, I'm sure.
Death choices.
It'll be fun. That one at least should be a live thing, right? Like, because I believe all these episodes have been pre-recorded, but that has not. That was just a thing we kind of thought about doing after session 0 aired.
So lots of cool stuff coming up. loadingreadyrun.com/live is the place to go for the full schedule. Keep in mind there may be a few oddities as we go into the Christmas area, just with people getting busy with Christmas and New Year's and things, although possibly less than usual this year. But anyway, let's thank all the awesome people who subscribed during the stream. Starting with Gildatrist for 46 months. Thank you very much.
Soaring Dragon 42 is back for a full year, soaring in them skies.
Mike Smith, 916, has been here 78 months. That's so many months, Mike. Thank you.
The Joe, 743, for 2 years. Welcome back.
8-Bit Dreams has been here for 28 months. It's, oh my goodness. I'm going to ignore that. Thank you, 8-Bit Dreams.
Be fine. DSP Moo has been here for 48 months. That's an anniversary. Congratulations on your 4 years.
Peachy Prieto for 42 months. Thank you. Whoop, there it goes.
Yeah, just catching up there. Sing 1 of 2. See? For 5 months.
Is thing 2 of 2 next?
I mean, I assume it's like an IKEA piece where it's just like there's parts A, B, and C, and this is like that one.
We've got
Izandai. You got this given to you by Fishor, a name I haven't seen myself in a while, but I haven't been on a lot of streams either. So, welcome back, Izandai, and welcome back, Fishor.
Spicy Dungus for 46 months. Thank you.
Jacob SH97 is back for that double digit of 2020 months.
I was thinking it's like Jacob.
Sorry,
Mr. Jacobs.
Nah.
Raz Grizbzj, 27, has been here for 21 months. Welcome back, Raz.
Grand Mal.
I know where that came up.
Big Hurt.
Wow.
That's what I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a cyberpunk reference.
Yeah.
Heather, you?
Rainbow Phoenix 06 rising from the ashes again for the 50th month with those beautiful rainbow feathers.
Night Valian, or Night V Alien 28, been here for 82 months. My God, we're into the 80s, yes.
Crab emoji, gifted by 3 4/5.
I'll be very
I wish that
Yeah,
worked.
okay,
I wish you
crabs.
could just write crab emoji and it would be a crab emoji.
I'd be very excited for the 90s. I grew up in those. Bring us back our jean jackets. Zombo.com, gifted by 3 4/5.
Ooh, are we just going through like retro websites now? Is that
Adobe Flash. Goodbye. Gifted by Fairbender27. I wonder if it's actually their real Adobe Flash account.
I don't know.
Well, Adobe, if you're listening to this, I have questions about Encore.
Glass Cannon, gifted by 3 4/5?
Nice. Dr. Lauren Ash has come back for the 7th month. Welcome.
Lucien0451, back for 29 months. Welcome back.
Brew Crew, gifted by 3 4/5. Yeah, Brew Crew represent.
Coffee Quest, also gifted by the Maricat. I hope you find this episode.
I will say, the coffee with Serge is not so much a quest in the sense that he knows exactly where he's going, and it's like right in town. It's not like an epic journey he has to go on to get good coffee. Serge has already got the coffee covered. Whoop, and there we go.
All right, 3 4/5. We're going to all take a car on this train, aren't we? I'll start. Athelgar, Little 1K, Cup of Ether, Hexy Lexi.
God of Biscuits, Ol Pan Pal Nakotoke, Gailonox.
Star Striker, the awesome Eleni, Obsolete 2885.
Benevolent Cow, Dino Hank, Awkward NB, and Lusho.
Mandu 7014, Insane 42, Somnorium Game Arcane.
Nudie Branch 93, A Beast of Prey, Peridot Rose.
Chump of the Month, Felix Few, Lee Benningfield.
Chump of the Month Club was a mistake. I don't know why I did that. Pierre Murmur, Solo Sakuran, Irinus Shotlock.
Super Blood Wolf Moon. Oh, Dorito, Sinister Squid 7.
Dreadalicious, Cora's Can't Wannabe Cat, Z-Bobs.
House of Shadow, The Sea Tower, Corvax is Clever.
Quentastic, Biosandwich, D20 Lancer.
Tabernac Fart, Team Sinso, Maverick Oot.
Oracle of Toronto, Mr. Fishy, Half Track Hero.
Grim Teuton, Jake Kamas, Leon is Co.
And Hedgehog Knight, that's 50 subs in a row given by 3 4/5. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
3 4/5. And welcome all of you if you haven't been here before. Please stick around.
S.A. Jewers for 56 months. Thank you.
Jock Mill for 28 months. Welcome back.
Probably not Mark Zuckerberg's actual account. I think Zuckerberg might be spelled wrong, in fact. Gifted by the Maricat. Thank you, the Maricat.
Adobe support number. Also gifted by the Maricat.
I know where that came in.
Mm-hmm.
Muffin Rush by the Maricat. Oh, muffins. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to have some sausages
Yeah, I
later.
could go for muffins.
Speedrun 100% Muffin Rush.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sniper Pumpkin with 61 months under their belt. Welcome back, Snipes.
And thank you for the 450 bits from Fairbender27, Xanatos69, and Gap Filler. Yay!
Yay!
Thank you all so very much for joining us. We'll be doing the live or remote but live Commander playing in just over an hour. But in the meantime, we will talk to all y'all later. Bye.
Bye.